Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon. Let's have some fun. As Shannon spoke, Carla Jean kept staring at the sight of Mason posing like some caricature of a princess. She never imagined that seeing revenge in motion would feel so deeply satisfying to her. Normally, she couldn't stand the sight of anyone getting hurt or abused. But this... He broke in the first couple of days. Most do. To be honest, a lot of the past few months has been personal tinkering with the final touches of the conditioning. You have my personal guarantee that no matter what happens, this pretty little princess will never be able to hurt you or anyone else ever again. They aren't even able to hurt themselves. Can he hear us? Carla Jean asked, her voice quiet and tinged with fear. Oh, yeah. Mason's still inside there. He's fully conscious. You can think of it like a one-way window. He's seeing and hearing everything, but we just get the new Mason. He has a new name, by the way. Lucille Frou-Frou. Very subtle, I know. We let him pick it out himself. Well, actually, it was his second choice. He wanted Lucille Lovescox, but the county clerk wasn't going for that name change. Despite herself, Carla Jean laughed, her giggles turning to a snort at the thought of this bizarre drag queen version of her ex-husband prancing into a county clerk's office and demanding to get their birth certificate turned into something that sounded like the top billing for a drag show. Shannon spoke again after Carla Jean finished laughing, but her voice was now much more serious. I have to tell you something. You know I don't keep lies between me and you. When we conditioned him, we had to know exactly what he did to you. Shannon didn't go any farther. Carla Jean averted her gaze. It's okay, Jeannie. Believe me, I'm making sure this bastard gets everything he deserves. This big, strong man's going to experience hell in heels and frills. By the time I'm finished, it'll be revenge tenfold. Carla Jean still didn't speak for a few moments, her thoughts dark. I want to know about this, all of this. I want to know what this conditioning does to him. I'll give you the full details later, honey. There's some very entertaining videos I think you'll really enjoy. First, we need to deal with those papers. But, well, if you really want the gory details, for now, let me just say this. As you can probably guess, Mason's choice of romantic partners has changed. But trust me, I didn't just make it that simple. What's the fun in that? As she spoke, Shannon reached over and picked up one of the frilly pieces of clothing strewn around the motel room. She lifted up a frilly pink peignoir robe and showed it to Carla Jean with a wink, grinning as she continued. Whenever Mason giggles and minces his way into some hunk's bed, the real Mason comes out. He gains full control over his own body, except for his voice. That keeps on chirping and squealing in delight, begging for more. There's just one little catch. His body won't let him use its strength, not even up to 5% of it. I don't have stats, but I'm pretty sure in this state he'd lose a wrestling match against my 5-year-old niece. I'd put money on that, in fact. He can struggle and wrestle with all his might, and his partner will just think he's into a little rough play. The more he struggles, the more Lucille's voice speaks up to let the hunk know just how much he's loving it. I know, very evil of me. Pardon me if I don't feel bad about giving Mason here a little taste of his own medicine. Carla Jean looked at Shannon, suddenly seeing the side to her friend that those years of giggling in classrooms and childhood bedrooms had hidden from her adult eyes. She was scared by what she saw. She couldn't argue that Mason hadn't done worse to women, but the sheer and unapologetic enjoyment in Shannon's voice didn't sound like justice to her. To her surprise, Carla Jean found herself not feeling the slightest desire at all to oppose her friend's actions. Hunks? Carla Jean asked. You mean, you couldn't even imagine, I'm telling you, the videos I'm going to show you. Shannon smirked. She dropped the peignoir robe and walked over to the writing desk where the folder of legal documents laid open. First, let's get his signatures on these. I'm glad you contacted me before he blew through much more of that inheritance, Jeannie. You should be set to buy that house in Charleston you were talking about, and still have more than enough to live off of. Carla Jean glanced at the documents. She smiled. The thought of starting a new life, a quiet life, had seemed like the most remote of fantasies before Shannon had shown up and flipped her nightmare of a life upside down. Carla Jean looked hard at Shannon, The things she had seen today told her that Shannon was far more dangerous and wickedly ingenious than she ever imagined. But in its own twisted way, it only made her love her friend more for it. Shannon was like something out of some crazy spy thriller, or some action movie with helicopter stunts and budgets larger than the GDP of many island countries. And here she was, doing it all for Carla Jean. Carla Jean pushed aside her moral concerns with a growing smile. For the first time in years, she felt a hint of real power behind her decisions. "I want to choose what kind of hunk he's looking for," Carla Jean said suddenly, surprising even herself. Shannon grinned, eager to plot more humiliations for the immobilized and very unwilling drag queen standing perfectly still in the corner. "Oh yeah? What were you thinking?" "Someone mean, like him, or like he used to be, whatever. Someone who treats him like shit. But no matter how he's treated, he treats them like they're his Romeo or something. He should be absolutely obsessed with pleasing them, like some parody of a 1950s housewife, something like that. A perfect little homemaker." Shannon snorted with laughter. "Jeannie, you wicked little thing, I love it. Fortunately, I was planning something already pretty similar. It's a fantastic idea. Shouldn't take long at all. I'll let you know when I get him on the dating apps. You can play matchmaker." Carla Jean glanced over at the frozen form of the man who had done so much to bring hurt into the world. She thought about the bruises she had for so many nights. She thought about how many times she fell asleep crying, alone in a bed that only brought her memories and nightmares of pain, spending every moment afraid he would return. She thought about what it meant to match his cruelty inch for inch. Did that make her just as bad? Worse? She decided she didn't care. "I don't want him to go run away and start a new life. Not yet. I want to make sure every person he's ever met gets to meet the new Mason." Carla Jean spoke with a sudden conviction. There was a tone to her voice that even made Shannon raise an eyebrow. "My thoughts exactly. It's no fun otherwise, Jeannie. Now let's get him to sign these papers." Shannon turned to the paralyzed cross-dressing Mason and spoke in that same firm, controlled voice. "Mason, dream pink lace porcelain giggles. Resume state, pink walk, and talk dolly. Pink dolly obeys." Mason snapped back to life as if suddenly reanimated. "Lucille, sweetie, we need you to sign those papers," Shannon said with a snicker. Mason, eyes dull and his wide ditzy smile still on proud display, pranced over to the desk with a wiggle in his high-heeled walk. Carla Jean watched his every moment. It was an outrageous movement, his hips working overtime. His mincing steps tiny in length, he placed each foot placed in front heel to toe in a straight line with each swing of hips. Carla Jean giggled at the sight. "Lucille, don't you want this money?" Carla Jean asked with genuine curiosity as her sissified ex-husband and abuser gleefully signed page after page of divorce papers that handed over every penny he owned. "Oh no, I won't need money when I find a sweet handsome man to marry," Mason giggled in that outrageous falsetto. For a moment, Carla Jean thought she saw a hint of pain in his dolled-up eyes. "Until that happens, Lucille here won't have any trouble finding some steady work to afford this room," Shannon said as she walked over to the cheap motel nightstand and carefully used 2 fingers to lift up a frilly pink pair of panties with a heart-shaped cutout in the rear. The panties didn't exactly look brand new. Carla Jean's eyes widened a little bit and Shannon smirked. "As you can imagine, business is good." Carla Jean was quiet for the first few minutes of the ride back to her apartment. This time, however, it wasn't from fear. She wouldn't be afraid of Mason ever again. That man was dead. Well, to be more accurate, imprisoned. Imprisoned in the unbreakable and currently very frilly cell of his own body. When she began to speak, Shannon listened closely, delighted to find that Carla Jean was formulating new ideas for her ex-husband's fate as fast as she could memorize them. Back in the motel room, Mason was preening and primping in front of the filthy mirror, staring deep into his own eyes. Inside his head, an endless and futile stream of rage echoed for no one but himself. In reality, only a falsetto giggle left his painted lips. As he pulled the corset strings tight, Lucille giggled and hummed to himself, joyous from nothing more than the sensation of satin and silk on skin. His body brushed out its wig and began to style it in a new style, eager to make itself as pretty as possible. After all, he had a husband to find, and to find a perfect husband, he would need to be the prettiest thing to ever grace a skirt and heels. Perhaps the man who was coming up to his room next would be that perfect husband. And if not, there was always the next man, the next night, the next town over. He would wait for the perfect man, the perfect lover, the perfect husband. There was quite literally nothing else he could do.